Right, let's share with you a product I've been using now for a couple of weeks. It's the ShotScope V3. This is their new GPS tracking watch. You've been seeing stats maybe appearing on a bit more of my content. Stats obviously very big in the media at the moment with Bryson doing what he is doing. The world is changing with golf. I mean, it's not changing, it's just more and more people are realizing that there's answers that are maybe not as cliche as they've been in devices like this. So if you're interested in improving your game, you're interested in getting lower, you're interested in finding out what you need to do to get lower, maybe today's review of the ShotScope V3 is going to help you. So I've got my watch. Let's take it to the course and show you what it's all about. Right, so we've arrived at the course. Now to set the watch up, it's as simple as this. So I've taken the watch off. You obviously don't have to, just because of the camera. So I'm hitting this button to unlock, and then I want to play. You could scroll through the menu if you wanted to do other things, change settings and what have you, which we'll come to further on in the video. So I'm going to play, I'm going to hit this tick, and I'm going to hit GPS and track, and now it's loading GPS. We are now looking for the course. Right, club's out of the car. You can see the little tick in the top right hand corner, ready to go. Let's play. Right, do you want to win a ShotScope V3? I've got one of these up for grabs. For one subscriber of this channel, you need to be subscribed to this channel and you need to have the bell icon on. If you have that on, you are entered for the competition, as long as in that comment section down below, if you post a comment saying, I want to collect stats. I want to collect stats. If you post that in the comment down below, your subscriber with the bell icon on, you have a chance of winning a V3 ShotScope and getting your stats collected, getting the latest device, and maybe improving your golf. Good luck, y'all. Right, on the first tee, it's showing me that it's 384 to the middle, 367 to the front, 398 to the back. I've got a little information button up here in the top right which I can choose, and it's going to show me that the bunker is about 265 to carry, and there's a second one on from there which is going to be 286 to carry. No touchscreen, simple physical buttons to press. I mean, that's what I love about this at the moment. It seems so simple. Oh yes please. I hit my shot and I walk. There's no tagging. The clubs have tags which we'll talk about. I just hit my shot, it does the rest of the work. A nice drive. So I'm getting now a front, a middle and a back yardage. Obviously I get no slope. I do things like this when I'm playing with front, middle and back yardage. So it's 114 yards to the middle. Pin looks middle. It's 96 to the front. This is downwind, downhill. So I'm going to play that 96 yardage. We got these little receivers in the top of the club. So all I'm doing is playing and using my watch for distance. So I've landed that on the front and it's just rolling down. Stop, stop, stop. This green runs away. Not my best, but I'll take it on this one. Got the receiver in the top of my putter. Again, I'm just going to putt. I don't need to do anything. Now I can choose to hole this out or not. I can pick it up, but what I will do is I will get to the hole, and it's now in pin collect mode. So I'm going to hit 2 putts. So top right is 1, 2 and 3 on the screen. I'm going to hit top right, collect pin, 2 putts recorded. Give myself that, thank you. The watch has moved me on to the 16th hole, and I can move it back or forwards if I need to. It doesn't need to be on that hole to capture your data, I found, because of the tags in the top of the club. Now sometimes what happens when I hit a shot, I do actually move it on. I press some of the buttons. Apparently there's a software update to come and fix that, I think I've heard. I used to find that with when I had an Apple Watch, I used to hit the button and make SOS calls, so a little bit annoying obviously to do with the way I'm using my wrists. But they are going to combat that. Right, 349 to the front, straight down, quite a strong wind. Can we get close? Let's see. I didn't draw. It's a shame. It'll be just up the right side. It's fine. It's just not going to get the green with that flight. The watch is lightweight, it's sleek. You can see the difference between this version and the older version, which I never saw, to be honest. This is as sleek as anything. I could wear this kind of as a watch, but I mean, it would still feel like a golf watch, but you could wear it if you wanted to. All right, tricky one to stop downwind. Going for a bit of height. Get up, get up. Oh, I just needed to throw that a little further. Take the 4 in the end, collect the pin. Again, it's just barely interfering with my game at all. Right, we're straight into the wind now. So going straight back into it. 361 front. It's got to find the fairway really, no bunkers to avoid, it's the trees you want to avoid. Oh yeah, take that all day long. This is always heartbreaking. When you look at distances into the wind, yeah, a little bit heartbreaking. Right, 120 to the middle. Pin looks front into, I'm going to hit a really soft little chippy 9 to try and keep it low. Again, this is 133 back, so I'm kind of looking more at that yardage than the pin, so I'm working that wind in. That's a nice flight. Oh, take that. Just left it out there, but happy with the 2 shots. Let's go back, 2 putts, and let's show you how this works on the app. Right, so I've made it back. I'm going to open the ShotScope app. I'm going to go to my rounds. I'm going to hit connect band. I've ended the round. All I do is a couple of clicks on the actual watch when I finish to end the round. I'm going to connect to the band. You can see here in the top setting up, and then I'm going to hit sync round, and it's going to pull all that data in for those few holes off the watch. And now I can go into the app, make sure everything's where I want it to be, and edit any mistakes if there are some, because it does drop the odd shot here or there, and make sure the pin's in the right place, make sure the right clubs are selected, make sure I haven't made any mistakes, and then we can start looking at the round. So I'm going to hit edit round. So we started on the 15th. And you can see my drive went 290. I'm going to then just punch into the green, hit the green option here. I'm just going to edit the pin. I'm going to bring this one a little closer. I don't think it was back there as much. And then this part was literally a foot short. So you can see from the 15th here, drive went 331 yards, obviously downwind massively. And then I'm going to punch in nearer the green, just came up a little bit short. You can see there is where my pitch shot was from as well, quite happy with that. So 16th, now back into the wind, drive went 258. And we'll talk about how this influences the stats. You can see my wedge in there, and then if we punch in at the green, a little bit of moving around of the pin on this one I did, but again, pretty accurate. Comes to the end, I'm happy. I'm going to hit save and exit. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign this round off, and it's now been added to my stats, and we're ready to delve in to see how good or bad I actually am. So let's take a look at this round specific. So it's giving me each score on each hole. I can look at the statistics. It's telling me average score to par, average score on the par 3s, so I didn't play any, average score to par 4s and par 5s. Also giving me average putts per round. I could look at it statistically on page 2 here. Fairways in regulation 75%, my season average is 59. Greens in regulation was 75%. My season average 74. Up and downs was 33%. My season average is 63. Obviously, it's a very small data set. Then what I can do is I can look at maybe performance of everything rather than just that round. So this is now going into everything. I've got an average distance. So this is quite a good point to think about as well, because we had downwind and into the wind shots out there. So how's that affecting your distances? So they give an average. An average is of all your shots with each club. So you can see my average, I've got two Ds here, two drivers. The gold one here is the Zexio, it's the newer one. And the other D is my Cleveland driver. You can see on average the Zexio goes 7 yards further than the Cleveland on the data captured. But obviously I hit a chippy little 9 into the wind, so that's going to affect the averages of these shots. So they've also got a P average, a playing average, where they take off some of the longest and shortest to give you a fairer average. And what happens then is these numbers start getting very realistic to the numbers I get if I do my gap testing on the quad. 7-iron going 165 yards. I mean, I'm going to play a 7-iron from about 160 to 175 yards. So averaging at 165 playing average makes a lot of sense. You can see my playing average with the Zexio is 304, where my driving average with the Cleveland is 289. I see that when I test. The Zexio does have the potential to go a bit further. It's lighter, I swing it about 2 miles an hour faster. Then you've got the 8-iron here, averaging playing average at 173. I would hope if I played with a lot more stats, you've got to remember, if I go to usage on here, 8-iron I've been using 2% of the time, 7-iron 4%, 6-iron 6%, and then my 52, 14%. With a year's data capture, you would hope that that would balance itself out, because I've only got on here, I've got a 4-hole, I've got a Woodbury 18-hole, a Stover 3-hole, a 10 or 11-hole at Honiton, and then these 4 holes. So I've got a very small data capture. There's other apps I've seen, they won't give you stats until you've got 4 or 5 full rounds in there, which I'm struggling to even have on mine yet. I can delve into tee shots, I can select clubs, so if I go to my current driver, 58% of the time I'm hitting the fairway, 17% left, 25% right. That's something I've actually worked on. I'm trying to work on a little draw with my tee shots to get rid of the right misses. I can do an average of all my shots, 59%, 16% left, 24% right, to work out my patterns. And obviously I can delve into, these are tee shots hit with certain irons. I could then go into approaches. So greens, total green success is around 61% with all clubs. I can delve into other clubs, you know, how many times I'm hitting the greens, 25% with my 6-iron, 50% with my 7-iron. It's giving me proximities from fairways and rough. Again, I haven't got enough data on all these for it to really mean enough to me yet. Then we got short game stats, and you can see here I'm using a 7, a 52, a 58, 64 and a pitching wedge, so I'm definitely mixing my lofts around a little bit for chipping, which is something that ShotScope highlight as a fault for lots of golfers, which is quite interesting. Lots of people obsessed with their most higher lofted clubs for chipping, and it gives me my average proximity with those two clubs. You can see my 64 at 38 feet. Not doing that well, is it? And then we delve down into putting as well. 65% 2 putts, 1 putt's 33%, and then 3 putts 2%. I'm leaving 93% short, 29% medium, 0% really going long, which is definitely a pattern I see on the course of me being a little bit lag putt as obsessed. We've got these competitions. I've never really got into these competition things, these kind of badges, but I mean, there was one on there I looked at, the world one, obviously pre-COVID-19. This would have been a really exciting one for me because I've played in a lot of places around the world. How that goes going forward, we will see. But there are some fun badges that you can collect, rounds in a week. And it gives you kind of pass streaks, those kind of things as well. And then when we get into the app, we've got our bag. So you remember the device comes with these tags, which you're putting in the top of each one of your clubs. And what I love about the tags, obviously it makes no tagging for each shot, which is great, and it's capturing which club is hitting which shot, which is great, which allows you to delve into the stats a lot more. But being able to compare 2 different drivers, for instance, in my stats, if I go back to tee shots and we're seeing 2 different drivers, I can see which one's hitting the fairway more, which one's going further. is a fantastic way for you to see if your purchases are working or not for you, isn't it? I think it's an absolutely cool way over a period of a few months of capturing some real on-course data of what you're doing and measuring how your clubs are working. And when we delve into data like this with students, what I tend to find that you do see some gaping holes in what clubs they're using, which ones they're not, where they could add clubs to their bag, where their distances are a bit skew when they're playing, where they're always favoriting one club, those kind of ideas, and we can test if that's a good idea or not. It shows the patterns in your chip-ins and what clubs you're using. Unfortunately for data like this, sometimes it's a little bit too honest for some people, but if you let it help you, you can really see where there are low hanging fruit wins for golfers out there, and maybe get you moving away from these kind of cliche ideas of whatever you might be working on in your golf swing, what might not really be lowering your scores. So my conclusions of this as a measuring device, front, middle, back, very good. The way it integrates with my game, the way it doesn't really interfere, fantastic. Like, that was what really surprised me the most with this. Setup was simple. Set up with the actual physical buttons rather than a touchscreen. And I asked them, why don't you got a touchscreen? Is it more expensive to put a touchscreen on? They said, no, it isn't more expensive, but what they were finding, people's hands got wet, they weren't able to activate the touchscreen, maybe bigger fingers, people weren't so tuned in, they liked having a physical tactile button to press. Was their test showed, and I kind of get that. The simplicity of it, I think, is what's so fantastic, because this is what I love with these devices, and this one I think is very, very clever. It has a few faults which we'll talk about in a second. It being able to measure how my clubs are performing without me having to tag and fuss, brilliant. The simplicity of getting the rounds from here onto my device, computer or phone, brilliant. The way it doesn't interfere when I'm playing, love that. The way it gives me the, literally at a glance, that front, middle, back, and then the hazard readings front and back. Just, honestly, the simplicity is just so much more fluid than even, I think, buzzing at the end of the day. But buzzing with a rangefinder still has its benefits as well, getting exact numbers. So that's a debatable one. If you're going to go this route, it doesn't get more simple than this. Then the complexity of the data that it then delivers from the simplicity, I think, is the perfect mix. Now, it does upset me, the downsides, it does upset me that we don't get strokes gained on the app. They've assured me that strokes gained is coming. It's coming. To not have strokes gained for me is a mistake. It's something I would want to use with my students. It's something I would want the device to be showing me where I'm gaining or not against different benchmarks of players. From Tour Pro to Scratch is a really good benchmark, because obviously if you compare yourself to Scratch, you know what your handicap is, because they're Scratch. So if you're like 16 worse than a Scratch, you're probably around a 12 to 16 handicap. So strokes gained has to come, shot scope, come on. And they've assured me it's coming, and that's good. And I understand a lot of people down the lens don't want strokes gained. It confuses them, they don't understand it. But I think having that option to flip those stats from averages to strokes gained to proximities to strokes gained would be so powerful then for every user to get the most from the device, and to start drip feeding the idea of a strokes gained into more levels of golfers, which is only going to help them. The fact that I can activate some of the buttons sometimes in swing, I find that a bit frustrating as well. They have got a software update they're saying coming, which will be interesting to see if that fixes it. They're showing me it will, and that will be a good part of it. Simplicity of use, simplicity of wear, comfortableness, how it looks on the wrist. Yeah, really surprised how much I like that, because I do find these things a bit dull. I love collecting stats, but I find them a little bit too amateur in what they do. But this one really, really surprised me. Post in the comments, is it something you think you would use? Is it something that you think you should start using? Is it the answer for you to getting lower scores? Let me assure you now, as a golf coach, I will not be doing lessons in the future with people who haven't got stats for me. I need stats to give you a lesson properly. So many, as I look at stats more and more and more, so many lessons gone past. You're wasting so much time trying to work out where to fix them, where this would allow us to dial in straight away. Remember, we've got the competition running. If you want to win one, post that comment down below, and make sure you're a subscriber to the channel and you've got that bell icon on, and you can have a chance of winning one of these. And maybe we could do a free lesson as well if you win one, and see if we can move your stats, because that's the fun thing as a coach. All I want to do is make you better. I can quantify if you're better or not with this. So there's a win for all of us. Do lessons work? That our question. Well, I want to quantify my lessons. I don't want you to wonder if they work or not. I want the launch model to quantify the numbers are better. I want those numbers to be interpreted on the course and quantified. This is where it's gonna all go. Just not sure how quick it'll go there.